back, everyone. Crowon here again, and we're going to go ahead and tackle UCE Buff Checker this time. So let's go ahead and get it imported. So pull in our custom package, Buff Checker. Import that. Alright, there it is. Beautiful as can be. So let's go ahead, as always, show in our Explorer for our README. Open our README up. And a quick overview of Buff Checker. Simply, what it does is you tell it what buffs you want it to look for. It finds it on the player or entity of any kind, and it'll do something with that buff. So we're going to go ahead and we got to attach this entity to prefab. So we're going to play on last video where we created that poison style ability where it stops the ability to regenerate hit points. So let's go ahead and go to our entity, our players, and our works. That's what we created that for. And in here, we're going to scroll down past the player script and drop our buff checker in, like so. And then we're going to need to use this in a second, but we're going to go ahead and make a game object that we can work with. So we want this to show something when the buff is on. So we're going to copy the stunned one, and we're just going to paste it. You can also, if you're unsure, this is Control D will make a duplicate as well, so that's an option for you. We're just going to put poisoned in here because our ability is a poison effect. So I'm going to copy that. We'll get rid of the one, expand it, change this one to poisoned as well for the sake of consistency. Paste poison in here, set that, and let's give it a mucky color for the green, showing that they're poisoned. We'll move that underneath stunned. Save that up, and then we'll go to warrior again. We'll scroll back down to our buff checker. Expand the entries here, and we'll add one because we want to use one. If this is unexpanded, just expand it. And we're going to set a buff in here. So let's collapse our prefabs. We don't need those anymore. We'll open up our resources, skills, and we get that recovery skill and drop it in. So that's what skill it's going to look for, and when it sees it, it's going to do something with it. So your options here are you can set a state. So this will only take effect when the state is in effect. So good example, if a target is bleeding, but you only want to tell them they're bleeding when they're moving, you'd put moving in here like so, and it would then only trigger when they're actually moving. If it's empty, it'll trigger on all the states, which is what we're looking for here. So we created that game object, so we're going to go ahead and put that here. This is also optional, but the reason we like the game object one is with the game objects, you can really do anything. You could do spell effects or other effects to things like this. You can do icons, you know, whatever you're really looking for. So we're going to drop this in here like so, and then you have the animation index. This is also optional. This is, do you want an animation to play when this effect takes a hold on the player? So in our case, if you don't want it, you can just put -1. It doesn't matter. It's not going to work. Perfectly fine there. Or you can put 0, which is what it starts with, to set the animation. So we'll come in here. We're going to save that, and I'm going to go to the animator. And of course, I have it in here already, so we're just going to delete it. I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to go to add. You're going to go to integer. And the integer should be called index buff. Now that's in here, and it's going to start at 0. We want it to start at -1 because -1 is disabled, not working, so we don't want this to take effect. I have it in here, so we're going to copy the health aura, bring that down, rename it to poisoned. If you have an animation, you can drop it in here. I don't have an animation for this, so we're just using one that's already existent. On any state, you're going to go and right-click and make transition. Click on that arrow, click on the conditions plus, go to index buff equals, and then whatever value you set in there, in which case I know we set 0, so we're going to put 0 in. And now this animation will trigger as soon as the poison effect takes effect. So let's hit back here, go back to our scene, save, hit play, and we'll come into the game world here, server and play. If I can click on it, it'll be better. We'll pick our player. We're in the game world, like so. And now we're going to go ahead and poison ourselves. And now we see poisoned, and our character's freaking out because the animation is not meant for this. But there you go. You have that option. So if I wanted to come in here, I can quickly just change that. So now you can see that there's going to be no animation because we don't, let's say we don't want it because the animation's kind of janky and weird. So we go, all right, Now we're just poisoned. You can see, barely see it because color choice was terrible on my part. But then he's not poisoned anymore. Go by the white here, will probably be better. Yeah, so you can see he's poisoned while the effect is up. As soon as it wears off, we go back to normal state. And that is literally it. That's all you have to do for this to get it completely functional and ready to go. You can do quite a lot with this little bit of a system to really enhance what your abilities are doing, showing negative effects, positive effects. Like, it's called Buff Checker, and that's just because the word buff is the universal set for effect on a player in this scenario. It could be negative as well. So we'll catch you in the next one.